Well, it's now 34 minutes past 7. That's around 26 minutes to the top of the hour. So let's take a look at some of the stories that are on the front pages of local dailies. Let me start with the Star newspaper here. And on the front page, Exodus looms as civil servants quit notice nears. Exodus looms as civil servants quit notice nears. Leaving office is required by election law. And MCAs seeking to run for MP seats must equally resign from their current jobs. That is a story making on the front page of the Star newspaper. It's a D-Day as CSS, PSS and CSS eyeing political seats to resign before February 9th. And Regina, you talked of that story of the Bundi family. That is the entire family who perished in a road accident is also on the front page here. The 5 family members, the mangled wreckage of their car, and now there's also a photo there of the mass grave that will in their hometown in KBC County ahead of their burial on Friday. Still, we pray for grace to the entire family on that road accident. Okay, Ruto calls Mount Kenya tycoons useless, saying that it's Kenyans who will decide. Details briefly. And then there's a story here of uncertified medics providing anesthesia. Research says that sedation by non-physicians 8 times riskier. In some poorly resourced facilities, non-physicians are also allowed to use sedation drugs such as ketamine to facilitate essential surgeries. Now, this drug is preferred for sedation because it is extremely cheap and can be administered as an injection by clinicians with no specialty training in anesthesia. So there's a research there that is detailing on how uncertified medics are providing anesthesia in hospitals. That's a story that's worth reading. And then there's a story of family killed in crash to be laid to rest on Friday. I've just given you a sneak peek of that. And, family are still meeting to prepare for their burial right in KBC County. Kenya Power ordered to pay 2 million shillings to electrocuted miner. High Court says that Magistrate Court ad raises general damages from 140,000 shillings, which was awarded to the miner, to 2 million shillings. Justice Kiare Wakiare on December 22nd ordered the Kenya Power, the power company, to pay for general pain and suffering, loss of income and future medical expenses. The accident happened in 2018 in Mbita. So after considering the injuries, according to the judge, the injuries which were sustained by the miner, the judge decided to set aside the award by the learned trial magistrate and substitute it with an award of 2 million shillings. So that is on the front page. Now there is a cartoon here showing the looming showdown in Parliament today. The political parties act. And now we have the MPs and Deputy President William Ruto, with a boxing placard, round 2. So we're expecting fireworks, of course. For Majority Leader Eden Duale, let me just give you a story. He says that coalition law may not apply in August election, according to Duale. He says that he cited clause 8B of the bill, which he said that makes the proposal time barred for the polls. So according to Duale, he said that proponents of the bill should not celebrate yet, as the process of having the proposed legislation into law is protracted and may end up dragging for months on the floor of the bicameral House. The MP cited clause 8B of the Political Parties Amendment Bill 2021, which he said makes the proposal time barred for the election. However, the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, which was considering the bill in its report to the House, reduced the period of submission of the coalition agreement to 4 months. Initially, it was supposed to be 6 months, but now JLAC reduce that particular bill, the period from 6 to 4 months. So that is now what is in contention in the House. And remember, it's going to be today in Parliament, and we'll be broadcasting that event live here on Channel 1. And finally, Exodus looms, and as I told you, for the civil servants who are contemplating to run for the political seats to resign, deadline February 9th. However, the law protects state officers such as president, deputy president, governors and their deputies, as well as MPs, but MCAs are required by law to resign 6 months to the election. Critically, MCAs will also be affected, cabinet secretaries, principal secretaries, etc., etc. So, and even ambassadors and heads of admissions abroad who want to plunge into politics must also resign. So, February 9th is the D-Day. And finally, on politics, Mudavadi's ally Aseka asks him to join Raila Azimio la Umoja. Aseka says that, you know, Mudavadi has higher chances of inheriting Raila's support base should he decide to join Azimio la Umoja. He's being touted to be one of the notable figures in Nyanza and the western side of Kenya to take up after Raila Odinga. So they're still beseeching Honorable Musalia Mudavadi to join Azimio la Umoja. Let me go with you here. Okay,
so with me here, thank you. With me here is the Daily Nation, and there's quite a lot going on the front page. One of the news making the front page is the story about the students who are going back to school, tough conditions for learners, readmission. And we see a picture there of students from Maranda High School who are waiting to be readmitted on Monday, being required to show proof that they have undertaken a drug test. This is among one of the requirements that the government has set. Okay, and so it says learners in schools that were closed due to the unrest last year have to fulfill tough conditions before being readmitted to the institutions. The conditions for readmissions vary across schools, but include paying hefty fines, clearing outstanding fee balances, undergoing mandatory drug tests, and signing agreements that bind them to good behavior in the future. However, the situation is different for learners who have been implicated in either organizing or participating in various criminal activities that drew the attention of stakeholders as the wave of indiscipline and violence swept across the country. Learners at Upper Hill School in Nairobi who demanded to be released from school last term before the official closing days have been asked to report with the parents next week on Wednesday. But one parent says that it would be wrong for the school to punish those who decided to go home before the closing date. And then, however, the Kenyan Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers yesterday urged parents to stop siding with their children and instead give them the right advice, the right counsel. Still on the same page, we have some advice on for parents, for their children, how to keep their children safe while going to school because of the Omicron virus, which data from the Ministry of Health shows that most children are being infected in the current wave compared with the previous ones. Over the past week, more than 500 children have been infected compared with the fourth wave, when about 124 got the virus. And Nation spoke to Dr. Otieno just to answer some questions, and he said that there's a need for teachers to show proof of vaccination once schools have been reopened. He also said that students should be tested before returning to school, that those above the age of 15 should be vaccinated. They should wear face masks, and the exact type of mask that they should wear is the 3-ply surgical mask with an adjustable nose wire and K996 masks, which he said were more helpful although expensive. That is one of the news making the front page. We also have the main read saying why Ruto climbed down on coalition. We have this story on page 4 of the Daily Nation. The Deputy President has made a U-turn on his resistance to coalition but maintained a hard line on political parties in Mount Kenya. The DP has constantly insisted that anyone who is keen on working with him should join the United Democratic Alliance. However, it has emerged that the DP's camp has realized that going it alone might not be entirely the best strategy at a time when their main opponents are embracing other parties and fronting changes to the law to facilitate the registration of a coalition party through thought to be Azimio la Umoja. On a similar story, DP allies seek deal on party's bill. Some of his allies are negotiating to have certain offensive clauses expunged even as MPs begin a 3-day special sitting to consider the controversial bill today. Also, still on the front page, we have oil farm protest, illegal importation. We'll get to details later on. Tycoon killers were contracted to kill. The tycoons killer who were contracted have been arrested. Sudan's risks return to Bashir-style rule after the Prime Minister has resigned. Also, 5 suspects seized over Lamu attacks. Police link them to Al-Shabaab militants, even as another man is killed. We'll get to more details once we are done with everyone. So, Doreen, to you.
All right, let's come to the People's Daily, and perhaps you can just begin from that story which also makes its way on the front page of this paper. That is in respect to that political party's amendment bill, which is set to begin today up until Friday. But now the DP allies are threatening to head over to court if at all this bill is passed in both houses, that is the National Assembly as well as the Senate. So just as my colleagues have mentioned, as KBC will be broadcasting that, we wait to see how that will pan out there. And also harsh reality for parents as schools reopen. Again, just as you've mentioned there, Steph, on the Daily Nation, is that parents are now required to make sure that their children get tested, that is for the drug test. And what the Ministry of Education is saying is that this is just to ensure that they curb the school unrest which have been happening over time, that is the entire period, actually the better part of last year. And for those parents who their children will not be coming with this particular test, then they will be sent home, because now this has become a requirement, as it has been mentioned by the Ministry of Education. Some bit of politics. Ruto pleads for Oka principles backing, that is the One Kenya Alliance, and specifically the ANC's party leader, that is Musalia Mudavadi. And since yesterday, we have been trying to mention where is the position of the ANC's party leader, given that he's being sought after by Ruto's UDA as well as Azimio's La Umoja, and whichever place he might choose, or if he chooses to actually go at it alone, what exactly will be his position there. And again, to some bit of health matters. Now, union decries shortage of medics and urges the state to recruit. When you get the details, I'll be telling you what exactly that is the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers is now telling the government, that is both the national as well as the county government, and there are different raft of measures that they're putting in place just to ensure that at least they become well-staffed, because they're crying of being understaffed, and this is limiting how effective they can be able to work as medics or as health practitioners. And also to that story, or that we also had yesterday on the papers, this is again in respect to the Lamu attack. What the police spokesperson Bruno Shioso is now saying is that there are now 4 persons who have been arrested. These are just the 4 suspects, and they're also linking whatever happened in Lamu to land disputes. This again just comes is actually one of the recent attacks, which comes barely a day after 6 people were also killed in a similar manner on Sunday evening. This, what you're talking about, is the attack that happened on Monday, similar to what happened on Sunday. And the attackers also are reported to have torched several houses in the village before fleeing to the nearby areas. And this is why these 4 have been arrested. Also, investigations are continuing in the area in regards to that. And yes, we had this conversation when we were beginning the show this morning of that local franchise that is KFC. They're just there's actually plans to now start sourcing potatoes locally, and this is after that uproar. Even up till now as we speak, actually even on Twitter, the hashtag is still ongoing, boycott KFC. But again, there still remains, and as the CEO has mentioned, is that if at all they have to actually source this locally produced potatoes, then it means that farmers have to meet the local standards. And as Regina was saying earlier on, is that what standards are this exactly they are talking about? When you get to the details, I might perhaps highlight for you what exactly the CEO mentioned as it pertains to those standards that they're actually looking for, if at all they are to source for this local potatoes. And again, also, as it has been established since yesterday, is that at least looks like the tourism sector looks like that at least they're slowly getting back to their feet, and now manufacturers, hospitality sector are now they're actually optimistic of this new year, despite the fact that it is the electioneering year, which might cause a bit of disruption in their functions. But they are optimistic to make gains and make it big compared to 2020 and 2021. Regina.
Now, the front page of the Standard this morning looks like this. Yes, the big read is all about what is going to be happening, and KBC Channel 1 is going to be televising live come 9 a.m. And we're talking about the controversial Political Parties Amendment Bill of 2021. The scribe this morning in this particular issue has gone with this. This is what they have written: knives out as MPs revisit the coalition's bill. What you need to know, or rather what is at stake in as far as that particular, the amendments as well as that bill, that the political parties bill, this is what is at stake. The formation date. Well, some MPs want the proposed coalitions to be formed 60 days before elections, but others want them, formed 90 days after. So there are those who want 60, there are those who want 60 days before, as well as others who are proposing 90 days after the polls. What about the powers of the registrar of political parties? Some legislators are pushing to reduce the power of the registrar to ensure the office cannot alter the party's nomination list. That is one argument. The other thing is the identity of the coalition. So after these coalitions, how will they identify themselves? So some leaders have proposed that each coalition must have a distinct identifying color, but this suggestion is still subject of debate. So the timing when you're going to be going on air is at 10 a.m. with what is going to be happening at the floor of the House. So these are 3-day special sitting of Parliament. So the question is, persons allied to Deputy President William Ruto, as well as those who are allied to rather supporters of President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga, will they have come to a consensus by Friday? And what will be the ripple effect of the consensus? Those are the questions that political pundits and experts alike are weighing. And this conversation gets heated and candid every day, Monday through Thursday, when Victor tackles matters politics. So you are in the right place. That is what we have on the front page of the Standard this morning, including matters of gender-based violence. Towards the end of last year, when the world was marking the 16 days of activism, we even had the president come out and say that indeed, matters of gender-based violence, as well as older people preying, older men preying on young girls and such, that is something that needs to be stopped so that we can secure the future. But now it seems that the issues of gender-based violence are taking a fatal turn, so to speak, with a story here that has been given precedence and finding itself on the front page of the Standard this morning, where a man is suspected of having killed his daughters in cold blood after an argument ensued between him and his wife. So according to the investigators' report, rather the police report at the Makinon police station in Makinon police station in Kinango sub-county. It is one girl's body was found in a pool of blood in her bed, while the other was found on the seat. We're talking about the bodies of girls aged between 7 and 5. who were found in a bed under a sofa. So the police claimed that the man had a quarrel with the wife before the incident took place. So according to the police report, a Kamba male aged 54 years differed with his wife over domestic affairs, and he decided to kill his daughters in cold blood. Quite unfortunate. So a postmortem is said to be conducted on the bodies before they are released to the family for burial. Now, while this is happening, a 17-year-old boy, actually not 17, but a 28-year-old man is to be charged today for murder of his father on December 17th in Mombasa. The deceased, that is the father, was aged 69. He was a retired military officer, and he also served in the United Arab Emirates. Apparently, this man chopped the father and, stuffed the body in a sack in the house, and it's after the foul smell became too much that the neighbors got curious, and they opened up the house and found the old man. So come today, he's going to be charged, and we're talking about Abdul Majid Nagib, who is suspected of killing and mutilating the body of Nagis Abdallah Fateh before hiding it under the bed in their home in Bondeni, Mombasa County. When you talk about matters of gender-based violence, it does not necessarily mean husband-wife, but also now we are having father-son to deal with that. That is what we have on the front page of the Standard this morning. Victor.
DP tells Mount Kenya tycoons they're useless. Kenyans will decide. Says Kenyans must stand up against arrogance and chest thumping. The DP, who is touring Kakamega County, took a swipe at the Kikuyu elite group, the Mount Kenya Foundation, for endorsing ODM leader Raila Odinga to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta. He said that Kenyans must stand up against the arrogance and chest thumping by the elite group, which he said is out to protect its vast business interest. And I must say that in politics, everything is applicable. All right, so long as you don't attack. I think in politics they are not allowed to. They know the rule of the game. Don't attack your family members. You can wrestle each other much as you want, but there are certain parameters that you're not supposed to go past. So it's okay. The DP was referring to Mount Kenya Foundation, an influential wealthy club that has settled on the ODM chief as the best aspirant to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta. There is a sad story here. Ex-prison boss Mwenda dies after bathroom accident. And I think, ladies, I just need to rope you in here. It's one of the most common deaths, per se. Anybody may trip to a bathroom accidentally, or you just support yourself,
Yeah. I've had many instances, but not maybe trip and support myself on the wall, but I've never really fell. But it happens a lot.
It happens a lot, and you can imagine many people have actually suffered incidents, and now ex-prison boss Mwenda died after a bathroom accident because he hit himself on the bathtub. And you can imagine after the bathtub accident, you're taken to the hospital because it's one of the most, it comes unexpectedly, So he died 2 days in Mombasa after he suffered a head injury to that. All right, High Court extends order on a mandatory COVID jab. Directive was to prevent those not fully vaccinated from accessing services. The High Court on Tuesday extended that, so the public places include national parks, bars and restaurants. High Court Judge Anthony Mrima said that the orders will remain in force until the matter is heard and determined. Now, the extension of the order was issued when the case came up for mention. Parties sought clarification on whether the order was still in force, given it had earlier stated until January 4th. So Justice Mrima also consolidated all the 5 matters related to the case. The government in November last year announced that it would require people to show vaccination certificates from December 21st, 2021 to access in-person government services, including hospitals, schools, tax and immigration offices. But still, there was confusion regarding to that, because the government said that that order was in force and the court order was also in force. So there was a confusion as to who was right either way. Court dismisses petition in Mumias Sugar lease case. The High Court, again, these are matters related to corridors of justice, has dismissed an application by Uganda-based Serai Group to overturn an earlier order suspending its lease award for Mumias Sugar assets. The ruling was issued by Justice Anthony Ndungu on the Milimani High Court in Nairobi on December 29th, and the court directed Sarai Group to comply with the December 29th ruling. So the lease was awarded to the Kenya Commercial Bank's receiver manager PVR Rao for the Ugandan farm on December 22nd. And we talked about it here last year, Regina, that you can imagine that Mumias Sugar Company will be back to business. And I was talking to some people over the December holiday, and the excitement over the lease to revive the Mumias Sugar Company is something that we can actually be happy about in talk of business. Regina?
Now, when you talk about business, when it talks about actually matters of sugar, I'd want to take you further to the Sugar Task Force report that was handed to President Uhuru Kenyatta, and some of the recommendation that this task force came up with was the issue of zoning.
Yes.
So that, you have certain, these suppliers are meant to supply here, not elsewhere, to try and also give it, a competitive edge. However, this was received by, mixed reactions, especially from cane farmers, so to speak. So the revival of Mumias Sugar, so to speak, and actually being under new management, not so new, if you know what I'm saying. But this would actually give the lifeline to that sugar factory and also benefit the cane farmers if things are done correct. Remember, we had the revival of the river tax industry, and government came out and said, you see, this is going to go a long way in also ensuring that we earn more from textile matters. We also had the revival of Kikomi, and if you have been down in Kisumu, which I know you have, well, we said we are going to be reviving Kikomi, but is it up and running yet, even after that statement? Well, it is not, in as far as Kikomi is concerned. Before I bring in Victor to give you your final word, and you're talking about excitement, let's also talk about our music industry and border it on matters politics. Remember Who Can Bwogo Me?
Yes, the Gidi Gidi Maji
the
Maji.
lyrics of Gidi Gidi Maji Maji. Who Can Bwogo Me? Yes, that was 2022. Then
2002.
Yes, actually that was 2002, yes.
Yeah, true.
Yes. And now 2017 we had Vindu Vichenjanga. Yes. Then we had the infamous Ben Githai. You remember?
Yes,
we all remember that. But are these artists earning from their intellectual property? Because this is matters of intellectual property. So now musicians have been tipped on how not to bungle deals over political campaign songs, and I really hope and pray that they take this into consideration, because you're supposed to earn from your intellectual property, and this is where it comes in. Intellectual property rights. What are the organizations, or rather different channels that, including the CMOs, as well as the Kenya Association of Music Producers, Performers Rights Society of Kenya, and the Music Copyrights Society of Kenya? I hope that these artists are going to earn something, because we have had Lelo ni Lelo artists, especially where, this is the recent one, songs about Azimio la Umoja. We also have the other one, BBI Kenya Moja song to market the Building Bridges initiative. Are artists earning from their works? That is something that we need to have probably a candid conversation. If not here, maybe another time as we look at, matters of politics. Because we know music is there to motivate, it's there to motivate and woo voters. And it is very key when it comes to matters politics. That's why whenever we hear BBI, we associate it with reggae. Nobody can stop. Nobody can stop reggae and such. So music is an integral part of our political campaigns, and I hope the artists as well as the organizations included there are going to help them earn a living. So now, we'd also, as we come to a close, we'd want to appreciate some of our viewers. There's some who came up and said, good morning. I'm tuned from Kericho. Usisahau ile maneno. This is a shout out. This is none other than Jerry Kingskip, who is watching from Kericho. Remember, you can also stream live on our various social media platforms, including YouTube, KBC Channel 1, and Facebook Live. Thank you very much for keeping us company. My Twitter handle forever remains @RayManyara. Victor, to you.
All right. So it's when you talked about sugar, Stephanie was smiling here. What was so sweet about sugar?
We love sugar. I was that kid who used to steal sugar once in a while when I got the chance. So when I hear that Mumias is coming back, so I'm excited about it. It's a good thing for.
But Doreen should be more happy.
Our country people.
The only thing that excites me, and it's not sugar, but it could be good when it actually comes back.
What excites you? Is it about sugar?
It's not chicken.
Sugar. Yeah. That's what that excites me.
Okay. All right. So it's that time that we take a very brief break, but when we come back, Doreen will be giving us on what's looking like on our roads. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.